Hi Year 5 and 6, welcome to Science for Week 6. This term we're going to be looking at a new science topic all about evolution and adaptation. So here are the learning objectives for this unit. So as this is a new unit, we need to start by doing a pre-assessment. So what I'd like you to do is fill out a KWL grid all about what you already know about evolution and adaptation. You only need to think about the K and the W parts, and we will fill out the L grid when we have completed the unit. There are some key questions written below just to help guide your thinking, and you might have some other questions that you could also include. So there is a KWL grid on the next slide, so you could either print that out or you could draw your own into your book. Thank you. So on the page you can see there's some key words for this unit. What I'd like you to do is write down your initial ideas about what you think these words mean. You don't need to look in the dictionary, and we will come back to these words throughout the unit, but I just want to see what you already know. You can see underneath variation there are 4 empty boxes. That could be words that we add to as we go, or you could think of some other keywords that you think you might need to know. So can you do that for me now, please? So we aren't actually going to focus on cells, chromosomes, DNA and genes. However, we will be mentioning them throughout. So we don't need to know them in detail, but I just thought it would be good for you to have some kind of background knowledge about each section. And I'm sure you'll be learning much more about it when you go into secondary school. So one of our keywords is inheritance, and that is key to thinking about what we are learning about today. So if you look in the dictionary, one of the definitions that comes up is a thing that is inherited. But that doesn't really explain what the word means. So you might have heard of the word inherited when a family member or somebody you know has died. Their other family members will often inherit some of their belongings. So they might be given their money, or they might be given their favourite watch. And it is about giving somebody something. That is one definition of inheritance. But when it comes to science, it refers to the genes that are passed on from parents to the offspring. So remember, offspring are the children of 2 parents. So the parents pass down certain genes to their children, and these are called inherited characteristics. So sometimes the easiest one to look at is the physical characteristics. So you can see that the mum has got blue eyes and the daughter has blue eyes. So the gene characteristics passed down to the child has been the eye colour. You might notice that the children have the same colour hair as their dad. That would be another physical characteristic that has been passed down. But you might also inherit characteristics that are about your personality or your ability. So you might see that you are very good at playing a musical instrument. that your mum is also very good at. Or you might have a natural enjoyment of history, which is a characteristic that your dad has. Have a think now. What characteristics have you inherited from your parents? So your task for today is I would like you to draw your own family tree and see if you can identify some of the characteristics that you have inherited from your parents. If you have siblings, you could also do it for them, and then you can see if you have any similarities or differences. You could either draw a family with pictures, or if you have photos, you could use them as well. I have done one for my family on the next slide. So here you will see the family tree of my family. So you've got my dad and my mum, and then they had 3 children. I am the oldest. Then I've got a sister called Megan and another sister called Annie. So 3 daughters. So on this page I started to look at some of the characteristics that we have inherited from our parents. And to make it clearer, I used anything from my dad was a blue arrow, and anything that I felt was from my mum became from a red arrow. I would start with the physical characteristics first, because they're the things that you can physically see. So I'm not going to talk through all of them because you can see, and I'm sure you're able to follow the arrows correctly. But I just want to draw your attention to a couple of them. So at the bottom you can see that there is 2 boxes. One in the same chin is blue, and that is because if you look closely, we all have this very similar chin that my dad has. And actually, when I look at photos of my grandparents, my dad has a very similar chin to my grandma. So that's a characteristic that's been passed down through 2 generations then. So that's why it's in blue. And then the other one that we all share is brown hair. I do have brown hair, but I do tend to dye it. But my natural colour is brown, which is similar to my mum. So we have all inherited the brown hair. And that is why those 2 are in blue and red, because we have all inherited that gene. And then there's other genes that we have done, lots of different ones. So for just a couple. So I have got blue eyes like my mum, but my sisters have both got green eyes like my dad. And I have got my dad's nose, a bit pointy, but my sisters have both got my mum's nose. So little things like that. And then I started to think about some of our more personality characteristics. So things like my sister Megan is very sporty, and that comes from my dad. I really enjoy history, and that comes from my dad as well. And my sister Annie, she's very good at art, which has come from my mum. I can't say that I share that gene. Even though I do enjoy art, Year 5, you all know that my art skills are not the best. Sense of humour has come from my mum. I've got a very similar sense of humour to her. We even have the same laugh, which is a bit strange, but it's very, very funny when we both laughing together. And so yeah, so have a go at doing your family. I think you'll quite enjoy doing it. I enjoyed doing mine, so I'm hoping that you guys will find that enjoyable as well. There's a success criteria on the next page, so follow that through and it will tell you exactly what to do. So as a plenary, I wanted to think back to the key question for today. Are all offspring, living things, identical? Now that you've had a chance to look at your family tree and to think about your parents and your own characteristics, what do you now think? So the answer is that they're not identical. People are not exactly the same, not with every single characteristic. And that is because you inherit characteristics from both your parents, but how those genes have been combined will be different for each person. So even though you might have identical twins who look very, very similar, the combinations of their DNA will not be 100% the same. So just have a think about that. So I hope you've enjoyed doing science for today, and I will see you next week for some more science. Hi Year 5 and 6, welcome to week 7 of science. First of all, I just want to think about what we learnt last week. So can you remember what these key words mean? Offspring, identical, inheritance. If you can't remember, look through your notes from last lesson or watch the slide again. So today we're going to be looking at lots of animals, which I'm sure many of you will be very excited about. So have a look at the pictures on the screen, and first of all find the offspring to the parent, and then write down on any notes that you can see that they've inherited the characteristics. So I'm sure you found that task on the previous slide quite easy. But today we're going to be thinking about, in the same way as we looked at parents last week, of siblings of the offspring. So have you or someone you know had a pet that's had puppies or kittens or other animals? Do they all have the same physical characteristics? Maybe some of them had dark fur, maybe some of them had lighter fur, maybe some of them had different colourings. What about height? Just have a think. Because in the same way as humans, animals inherit characteristics from both the parents. But like humans, the genes are combined in different ways for each animal. So we're going to have a look at some examples now. They are very cute photos, and I can just imagine some of the squeals of, "Oh, very cute, oh I love that." So let's have a look. So like I said, a very lovely cute page. But what I'd like you to do is try to look at each picture and see if you can spot the different characteristics. So for example, in the top left hand corner of the kittens, you've got some which have got much darker fur, whereas some have got much lighter fur. And then you've got in the piglets, you've got some with more spots than others. Have a look for yourself and see if you can spot the physical characteristics. It's difficult to spot the other characteristics because you don't know the animals. So let's stick to the physical characteristics for now. So your task for today, you have a choice. You could either think about, if you have a pet which has a litter, can you describe the different physical characteristics? But that could also be, so if you've brought a pet from a breeder and you know that the other animals which are in that litter, you can draw them and then label the physical characteristics. Or if you don't have a pet, use one of the pictures, or either on the next slide or the slide before, and write about the characteristics. Please complete these into your books. The success criteria on the next slide. So that's science done for this week. Just want to say you guys are doing an amazing job. Keep up the good work, and we will hopefully see you all soon. Bye.